Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. We've made it to the end of the week. We saw some Arsenal players shining again at international level, and one of our favourites is back to talk about two exclusive stories he broke about the Gunners this week. Let's rock and roll, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, good afternoon, no matter where in the world you are. Hello, and thanks for making us part of your day again. An awkward hour, we're broadcasting 6 p.m. UK time on a Friday, so a lot of you might be out having a little tipple after a hard work week. Some of you at home resting, maybe even working out this fine Friday. All I know is on this fine Friday, I have one of my favorites here, and we're always grateful for his time, especially as he's got an early flight to catch tomorrow morning. Mr. Sami Mokbel from the BBC, welcome back to Squad Central.
Hi, Sof. It's honoured to be called back in.
We appreciate you, and I wanted to actually start off with, before we get to your two exclusive Arsenal stories this week. You were there at Wembley. It looked soggy, Sami. It looked really soggy, and maybe a couple of Gooners helped make it more interesting, together with Phil Foden maybe in the second half. How was Wembley last night?
Yeah, it was pretty. The problem is with these games. Once qualification is assured, they're glorified friendlies, aren't they? Players don't want to get injured. They've got club matters on their mind. They wouldn't necessarily admit that, but I think there was certainly an element last night of going through the motions a little bit. And I think that kind of transmitted onto the pitch, and it was a pretty routine victory for England, and England, I think they could have probably gone through the gears if they really wanted to, but I just don't think they did. And yeah, sort of in terms of the Arsenal contingent, obviously the two goal scorers, Bukayo Saka, who particularly during the first half, I don't know, I just felt like he wasn't at 100%. Not in terms of how he was playing quite well, but just he seemed to be moving uncomfortably.
Really?
Yeah, but then towards the end of the first half, he actually had to change his boots. So it was potentially that. And the fact that he played for most of the game suggests obviously that he's not carrying anything. But his goal was brilliant.
Sami, I actually remember seeing him do this, almost like an NBA, or an NFL timeout. Yeah.
I was just watching him, and I was just like, he doesn't seem entirely comfortable. He wasn't struggling for movement, but he wasn't the kind of explosive Bukayo Saka that we know. But then he took his goal beautifully. The way he just guided that in with his left foot. It was I was
finish.
Where we sat in the press box at Wembley. You just get a brilliant view of it. You're directly behind it. And it was some finish, as was Eberechi Eze's goal. First time top bins, as the kids like to say. And good goal, and a good night for the Arsenal boys at Wembley.
Sami, I wanted to ask you, there's always this debate about Saka, and of course we're all on tippy toes waiting for that new contract announcement. It would be the icing on the cake with, Miles Lewis-Skelly and Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba, and all the great work Berta has done. And, I shouldn't listen to people debate Saka because it just irritates me. There were actually people on radio yesterday saying that, Jared Bowen can do just as well in that role. And if you look at, apples to apples, goals scored, assists, people saying that if he was in this Arsenal team, he'd be better than Saka. I still don't feel like he gets the respect that he deserves, even though he gets respect. Do you think I'm being too touchy?
I wouldn't get triggered by that. I saw that clip that you're talking about. and I was like, what game are you watching? Although Jared Bowen is an excellent player, and he's dragged West Ham through some really tough times. Almost like he carries that team on his shoulders, really. But yeah, listen, I don't think those in the game sort of disrespect Bukayo Saka's achievements and his game. I think everyone knows that we're in the presence of a footballer who is very, very special. Does he get the credit he deserves in terms of England? Potentially not, but I think that's where Bukayo Saka is a victim of his own brilliance. I think, to come from one team like Arsenal that is so expertly drilled by the manager, and where every manager knows their, every player knows their job, every player, the combinations there that you work in day in, day out. To replicate that at international level is difficult, and it isn't a given. But that said, his performances in my time covering England, and I've watched Bukayo Saka, the vast majority of Bukayo Saka's appearances for England, and every time he sticks on an England shirt, he's always a 7 out of 10 minimum. So in my eyes, yeah, look, maybe he does. Maybe he's not lauded at international level as he should be. But I think people that matter, certainly within the England camp and the coaches and his teammates, I think they definitely realise how important he is to a successful England team heading into into the tournament in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say after Pickford and Kane, Saka is like the next one on the team sheet. He's consistent, and if you're an Arsenal fan, you know that consistency at that level from the time Emery introduced him to the team is quite insane. I wanted to get you a quick one from you as well for a player who didn't play. And by the way, at eSquaddies, my rudeness, I did not greet you this evening. And to those listening on Apple, Spotify, and other audio platforms, thanks so much for hanging out with myself and with Sami, the senior football correspondent from the BBC. Sami, what was the word on the street regarding Miles Lewis-Skelly? Again, I don't want to sound touchy here, right? But Miles Lewis-Skelly came onto the scene, has already played 50 odd games for Arsenal, came in when injuries happened. Some would call it an accidental season that ended up being a brilliant season. He played for England, got his debut goal. Everyone's narrative then is, England have found their left back for years to come. And then, of course, you've got young Nico O'Reilly, who is an excellent talent and a superb player. But here we go again, pitting two young players against each other, just like they're trying to do right now with Jude Bellingham and Morgan Rogers. And I don't quite like the way some people cover Miles. It comes off a little, I don't want to say it's racist, but I do feel like he's being treated like, the same way Jude. They don't like players who have a little bravado and a little edge to them. It makes people uncomfortable. But from a talent point of view, Miles Lewis-Skelly isn't done with England, but here we are with this kind of story that has hit this week. What do you make of all of that?
I think you're absolutely right in terms of Miles Lewis-Skelly isn't done with England. This isn't the end of Miles Lewis-Skelly's England career. But where I do have some sympathy with Thomas Tuchel and he's been pretty blunt with it. And that people pick holes in the argument, and there probably are holes to be picked in the argument. But the pure fact of the matter is that he hasn't been playing as often as he was last season, and other players in his position have been playing a lot more regularly. I think we forget, obviously, Nico O'Reilly was okay last night. He didn't necessarily have the sort of England debut that Miles Lewis-Skelly had. against, I think it was Albania sort of earlier this year in March, and he obviously scored in his debut. But he was solid enough. He was good. We forget that Tino Livramento is still to come back. I think when everyone's fit and firing, and if everyone's playing regularly, I think that left back berth will be between, if everyone's playing regularly, will be between Mars Lewis-Skelly and Tino Livramento. I think they will be the two main contenders. But it's up to Mars Lewis-Skelly to get back into the team somehow. And that seems difficult at the moment because of Riccardo Calafiori's consistent season, and he's been, it will be hard to drop Calafiori out of the team. But I must say that I have found perhaps some of the follow-up stories with regards to Mars Lewis-Skelly's future at Arsenal a bit odd, a bit baffling.
The
he's
transfer stuff.
He's just signed a new contract. And there of course there will be clubs who will be sensing an opportunity. They absolutely will, and they will perhaps try to use the World Cup as a motivating factor to perhaps maybe see a niggle of doubt in Miles Lewis-Skelly's head come January. But my understanding at the moment, I don't know if this will change closer to January, if Miles Lewis-Skelly does go out and tell Arsenal that he wants them to consider potentially a loan move. But given, and touch wood, it doesn't happen to Riccardo Calafiori because he's having a fantastic season. But given his previous injury records, I think from what I understand, Arsenal will be loath to even consider letting him go. And why weaken your squad? Why weaken your squad when you are clear at the top of the Premier League? Everyone's tipping you to win the title. You're in all the competitions. I just can't see a scenario at all where Mars Lewis-Skelly isn't an Arsenal player at the end of January. For me, I would be shocked to see that happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Calafiori, there was a little scare on this international break. Everything kind of seems fine. He's travelled with the Italian team, but you're 100% right. When we've seen the best of him right now, but this is a team that's in 4 competitions. Everyone's going to get to play football this season. And, I think people forget as well, Miles Lewis-Skelly's a gunner through and through, coming through Hayland as well. Thanks for your insights onto that one.
It's not going to, Mars Lewis-Skelly isn't going to throw the towel in at the first hint of difficulty. It's just not, I just don't think it's in his nature. I don't think it's in his character. Yes, the World Cup is obviously it will be a motivation. Every player wants to play in a World Cup, right, and go to a World Cup. But the lad's how old is the lad? 19?
19 years old.
Yeah, he'll have 3 or 4 other World Cups to go to. So,
and also, Sammy, also he's 19, and we're seeing right now this is going to be, who's going? Jude Bellingham, Morgan Rogers, Phil Foden. Jack Grealish can't get a sniff. Yeah. We're living in a time where there is a lot of talent, but that left side for England, I think that there's an absolute, I would say 90% chance he goes, because they're just not as stacked on that left side, are they, as they are in other areas of the pitch. Right. Let's get to your breaking story this week. And I love a Sami show because I always get educated on something or someone. Sami exclusively breaking for the BBC that the Arsenal are in advanced talks over appointing Napoli head of scouting Maurizio Micheli into a leading recruitment role. Micheli credited with unearthing some major talent, Hamsik, of course, Kim Min-jae, and the name that nobody can pronounce. Kvaratskhelia. There you go. That is my attempt, Sami, this one. But you broke the story. It's got 100 gazillion views. Arsenal fans interested in what goes on the pitch, but also off the pitch. He seems to, I don't know how involved in the Napoli success he's been. He's been there for years. I'm all ears. What's the scoop with this?
Yeah, look, I think since Andrea Berta came in, he's been looking to perhaps reshape the staff there, bringing some fresh blood, fresh recruitment blood, and I think this will certainly be the most significant addition to that Berta has made with regards to the staff and the administrative and recruitment staff that work under him since his appointment in April. I think that obviously it'll be pretty clear that both are close. They've worked, they know each other from their time in Italy. And as you say, Sophie, he comes with a really big reputation. He's unearthed some excellent players that have gone on to play top European football, top international football, and he will have an important role to play. But my understanding is it will be almost like an overarching role that will focus heavily on recruitment and scouting. But obviously the appointment hasn't been confirmed yet, and I wrote that it is in advanced talks. I think he's 99.9% sure that deal will be agreed and an announcement will be made in due course. But the proof will be in the pudding.
It's like you told us with Zubimendi, Sami. You had it right all along.
But the proof, look, the proof will be in the pudding with regards to how he can implement sort of the scouting strategies and the recruitment strategies alongside Berta that he wants. But what we saw in the summer largely were Arsenal going for proven talent. Right, he spent a lot of money on players that were proven to secure success immediately. So what will be interesting to see is what approach Micheli takes. Whether there will be more of a strategy to identify players at a younger age with greater potential that they can potentially get for sort of a little bit cheaper than they spent this summer. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but Micheli is a big addition to that, and will work very closely with Andrea Berta in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Well, when you see what Napoli have done, they're reinvigorated, aren't they? And delivered the Scudetto last season. And there's an interesting question here, actually, from a couple of listeners. I'll throw them in while we're talking about this. Is one from Demsek is this a move back to using scouts over analytics? You know, we do love analytics over at the Arsenal, but do you know anything about that, Sami?
No, I don't think it's going to necessarily be a shift over to that. I think analytics now are such a big part of every football club, certainly at the top level, and there are a lot of recruitment staff at Arsenal who are dedicated to looking at the analytics and identifying players in that aspect. But the sort of the old-fashioned scout, as we may call it, as we'd like to call it, there will always be room for that, because the numbers can only ever tell you so much. You need to actually go out there, and the scouts that I speak to, the recruitment staff that I speak to, not just at Arsenal, at every club, still put a major sense of importance on actually fixing eyes on footballers and doing a due diligence on the sort of watching videos, etc., and actually digging into their personalities. And that element I don't think will ever go away. There will always be a place for that level of exploration, shall we say, into players. While football's still here and breathing.
Sami, Berta's come in and he's really done such a phenomenal job since joining the club. And I like kind of how he's gone in. And I want to say this too to the squaddies, because I did tell them this, a couple of years ago on the US tour when I spoke to Adu. Similarly, when he first came into the club, he was talking to me about what a mess it was in terms of apathy and, sense of urgency and people who were there. And, I don't think he gets enough credit sometimes for getting the broom out and doing a little sweeping. And it seems like Berta is doing exactly the same. Kind of came in, made some fundamental additions to the side to capitalize on the talent we had, build on that. You can see this season the depth of the squad, but also maybe changing the culture and bringing someone like Micheli in to help kind of execute his strategic vision on the scouting side.
Yeah, and but the other, you're absolutely right, and the other, obviously, the obvious, I guess, element of this is Berta's footprint. It's. I don't like the expression power grab, because I think that comes with negative power connotations, right? A bit of a power grab, but there is. In Micheli, there is certainly an element of Berta getting someone that he knows, that he trusts, and that he knows he can rely on to work closely alongside him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think detractors may say, "Oh, he's just got a job in for his mate." I don't think that's the case here. I think if you look at Micheli's track record of identifying talent, he's up there with the very best in Europe, and the fact that he does have an existing relationship with Andrea Berta is just almost a cherry on top to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's been a lot of changes. I saw you put a tweet up there about
James Ellis.
James Ellis one, who's obviously James Ellis now he's been promoted, hasn't he? He's now the technical director. So there's been changes to internally, the restructuring of how Arsenal operate on an executive level and on a director level, and obviously that now is stretching down to all the recruitment stuff.
Yeah. Ben Winston, who, for those of you, I know some Arsenal fans will know or not know, but he's a prolific producer of television shows. James Corden's Late Show here in the United States. He is going to be the creative director for the Los Angeles Olympics opening and closing ceremonies. He's very connected and he's been an Arsenal fan his entire life. I like that he was added. And then, of course, you've got some executives from KSE Sports. And Josh not afraid to kind of make changes. And, of course, we know Tim Lewis is gone now. But what role does Mikel play in all of this with the new hierarchy? Of course, he had a really good relationship. There was the Fab Four everyone talked about regarding, the process for signing players, Sami. Tim Lewis now gone, Josh refreshing and rebooting a little bit. I think every business needs to do that. I like that Andrea Berta's getting someone in that he knows. I mean, I've been in the positions, and I'm sure you have, where people you've worked with before try and poach you or ask you to come on over and join their team. It seems like Josh Kroenke really trusts the group that he has. Not saying Tim Lewis worked for them for years, but he seems to want to push it to the next level now in order for Arsenal to really push for major honours.
You definitely get that. You definitely get that impression that the changes that have been made and are being made and they are making is all geared towards the start of an unparalleled period of success. A legacy is. I know that's a very I know that's a kind of a very big word to use, particularly for a club that haven't won anything yet. But this is what that's the plan here. It is to have everything in place, executive level, at the coaching level, at recruitment level, and then, the most important people of all, the players, to execute and be at the forefront of a prolonged period of success for the club. And sort of the changes that and sort of the structural changes behind the scenes that the club are going through, the new recruits to staff, the new sort of levels of expertise, that will all feed into this kind of feeling, I guess, at Arsenal. That, and it's, I think, given the start to the season, there is this sense now that Arsenal are on the cusp of something amazing. And I think, a lot of people will just put that down to having better players and having a stronger squad, given the signings that were made in the summer. But you shouldn't underestimate the sort of the level of work that goes in behind the scenes, sort of the work that I don't see, and all of that goes into a pot. And it's what they will hope is that will be a recipe for success, not just for this season, but for seasons to come.
Sami, what do you think this means for Mikel? Obviously, there's questions all the time when there's changes, and as I asked with the relationships and stuff, but Mikel's power doesn't diminish here, does it?
No, not even a little bit. Mikel is the mastermind, is the figurehead of the football club. He is the guy that has taken. We've got some excellent players, but he is the guy that has taken this club. And I don't want to say doldrums, but the sort of those final weeks of the Unai Emery era were pretty hard to watch, and they were pretty negative. And I know that seems a long time ago, but he's taken this club that was almost treading water to one now that is widely recognised across European football as one of the most exciting projects on the continent. So if anything, his power bases and everyone I speak to connected to Arsenal, who have dealt with Mikel and have dealt with those who work alongside Mikel, say that he's still the man. He's still the guy there. He's still the guy that wears the crown. And I don't think that will ever change until the day he leaves, if he leaves.
Yeah. I think most Arsenal fans are happy to hear that. So before I get to your next exclusive that you broke this week, what do you think this means for the January transfer window, Sami? We've got such a great squad, and Mikel doesn't like disruption. January's a bit of a weird window anyway. Havertz coming back from a serious injury, got injured again. Gyökeres looks like he's going to be fine. A few muscle injuries here and there. Do you see Arsenal being active in January?
Not particularly. No, I'm not getting any information that it'll be a window that Arsenal will look to do big business in. There'll always be opportunities, right? And if there is an opportunity to do some business, then they'll always be open to it. But obviously, given the size of the outlay in the summer, I don't think there will be a massive appetite to go and add further to the squad unless an opportunity arises that is just too good to turn down. I think, but I also, in terms of incoming players, that's one thing. But I also don't think there'll be a massive appetite to let many players go in January, if at all. Why disrupt the squad? Why make the squad weaker when you appear to be, and there's still quite a long time until 6 weeks until January, but it will take some. The wheels would have to fall off dramatically.
Mhm.
Arsenal aren't there or thereabouts in the Premier League once the window reopens. So why disrupt that by letting players go? I just don't see much benefit in upsetting the apple cart too much with regards to bringing players in and letting players go.
Yeah, just keep the players we have, especially, this young fella, Saka. Of course, he's staying, but that'll be quite some moment as well. Sami, you broke another story, and this fixture situation is a little bit nuts. I mean, the club push for this. Was Mikel behind it? Sami exclusive for the BBC again. Arsenal's application for the Premier League game against Everton to be played a day earlier on December 20th at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. as well, though. Crikey. And of course, there's the Carabao Cup clash. Who instigated this?
I think there was a cycle of events here that led to the game. You make a very good point about the 8 o'clock thing, and that's going to be a nightmare for the match-going fan. It really is. Like, how are they going to get back? I don't know what time the last train is on a Saturday night from Liverpool to back into London, but I'd imagine it won't be at the time that they need it to. I can't imagine there'll be many trains running, or any trains running at all around sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock back into London. So planes, trains, and automobiles. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get. I don't know how they're going to get back. And I think that's, for me, that's sort of the most upsetting narrative about the rescheduling. What happened was, so to get back to the actual decision, Crystal Palace play in Europe. It's their final Europa Conference League game on the Thursday. So that would be what, the 18th? Yeah, Thursday the 18th. Palace tried to get that moved to the Wednesday to give them just to give them an extra date of recovery. But because that's the final week of European fixtures, they were declined. Their application was denied by UEFA, I'm told, because it would damage the integrity of the competition. If one game's playing particularly on the final weekend, if one team's playing before the others, then I kind of tend to agree with UEFA there that there is probably an integrity issue there. So what I think Premier League have decided to do, given that Palace and Arsenal are then playing on the Tuesday in the Carabao Cup, they've both given them a 8 o'clock kickoff, and I think that is partly because they want to give both times the same amount of time to recover for the game on the Tuesday night. But I also think there's a TV situation. I think there's a TV situation here about. I think that was the only TV slot that was available at 8 o'clock as well.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's crazy, really. It's really insane how much football there is. I mean, I know we miss it during the international break. I think most Arsenal fans welcome this one because of some of our injuries, but it is crazy in terms of what's happening. Right, we're going to let Sami go because he is flying out first thing tomorrow morning, covering England. And we appreciate you, Sami. What do you want the squaddies, the Arsenal fans, to know? I'm sure our next chat with you will probably be sometime in 2026, maybe after January and the window and stuff. But or during, depending on what's going on. But what do you want the Arsenal fans to know? And your opinion, is it going to be our year?
Yeah, I think this is it. I think the squad is so strong, and the depth that you've got in every position. We're speaking about left back there, and what would happen if Calafiori was to pick up an injury. Well, then you forget about Hincapié. He could play left back. It's just that the strength in depth in every position, is mad. And on the other side, on the at right back, Ben White has been one of the sort of standout performers for Arsenal in recent years. And he's hardly got a look in, because Timber's been brilliant, and that combination between Saka and White that we've all come to enjoy, and down the right hand side for Arsenal for so many years. That's forgotten about now. And I just can't, unless there is a ridiculous swathe of injuries. Touch wood for you guys, that doesn't happen. I can't see anything derailing Arsenal in the Premier League. I know sort of Liverpool fans, Manchester City fans will probably beg to differ. But yeah, I think this is going to be your year.
Well, we like to hear that. We don't need any more injuries than we have already, Sammy. And maybe Man City are two injuries away from disaster in Haaland and Doku, and Liverpool trying to find their feet this season. Lots going on for them. So safe travels tomorrow. Follow Sammy at Sami Mokbel _BBC. Take care, Sammy. At ease, and safe travels. We'll talk to you soon, mate.
Cheers, Soph.
Take care.
Cheers.
That is Sami Mokbel from the BBC. Used to be with the Daily Mail. Good friend of the show. We appreciate him very much. Broke those two exclusive stories for the Arsenal fans. Well, not for the Arsenal fans, for the BBC. And interestingly, the head of Scout one, I think, is another indication about the evolution of the club, and Andrea Berta making his mark at Arsenal. Good relationship they have, as Sammy said, and has discovered some really great talent. And, we'll look forward to the future and what is being built behind the scenes, not only, for transfers, but also scouting, and how important scouting still is in football. A lot of the times we all rave about clubs like Brighton, how they unearth players, and good old, I had a friend who used to be a scout and actually was obsessed with just standing on the sidelines and going to games, lower leagues, soggy, Monday night, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, just to unearth, the next superstar, the next star, or just the next good player. Because not every team is made up of superstars, is it? So that's why I love that. Have you guys seen the film Air, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, Chris Tucker is in it. It is such a great film. What I love about that film is the story of, I can't remember his name now, but the guy, he just goes to high school basketball games. This is the guy that signed Michael Jordan to Nike, which is, or as you say in England, Nike. And he used to go to high school basketball games, just watching talent. And there's something to be said about professionals, people like that, at the grassroots level. Like, the game at the grassroots level is still so fundamentally important to what it becomes in the future, and how digestible, it is for fans across the universe, and fans who pay good money to go through the turnstiles as well. We'll do one on, maybe I'll see if I can get the Scout on Demsec, and we'll do a show like that, because there's also someone I've got coming on soon to talk about the academy, and someone, who just eats, breathes, and lives the academy, and not only the Arsenal academy, but across football. And these are people that you really learn a lot from, and you've got to have some chip in your brain to be able to, I mean, a lot of the times we say, yeah, that's a good player. You know, you can see that's a good player. Sometimes you don't see that talent immediately, but you meet the person and you feel like the character they have can make them a great player. The hard work. You know, Frank Lampard will tell you that he didn't become Chelsea's greatest goal scorer by, you know, being born with football talent. David Beckham will tell you that, you know, when everyone would go home, he'd just stay and practice free kick after free kick after free kick after free kick. Sonny Vaccaro, thank you so much. I knew one of my squaddies would come in handy. There was probably someone listening on audio right now saying, oh, God, she can't even remember. And they, Sonny Vaccaro, Sophie. So, yeah, you haven't seen Air. Oh, my God. And you know what? Casual Fridays, it's coming back. But yeah, I just wanted to stay on a little bit, see how everyone's doing. I know everyone's a little bit worried about Newman, and we haven't seen him in a while. I'm going to message him after the show and I'll let you guys know. I'm sure he's either protesting for still not having a coin, which is a shame because we've got a new promo coming up with Zenith coins. The thing everyone wanted to hear. A yes for the holidays. We're going to start it a few days before Thanksgiving in the US. But yeah, we're going to be giving away some new stuff. And there'll be some lucky listeners who get some exclusives. I think we'll give another Invincible collection away and a couple of new bits that they have, which I will announce next week. So our good friends over at Zenith Coins going to shower us with some stuff so you can enjoy this holiday season. And remember, if there's anyone out there who had won a coin but never received it, you must let me know, because there was a bit of a kerfuffle with some mailings. And so I need to know if you did not receive your coin. You can email me, thehighburysquad@gmail.com, and I will resolve that. You know, I keep this handy just because, and it's just around the corner, isn't it? For those who are listening on audio, that is one of my favorite videos. It is the cannon shooting the cockerel. How many times can we play it? It's so good. I can't wait. We've got some really big games coming up, don't we, after this international break? 2 major London derbies, the North London derby, and of course Chelsea. Now, some of you will be happy to hear this, some of you won't. This is why I stayed behind to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we've got our Zenith coin promotions for the holidays coming up, which is going to be a lot of fun. And a little bit earlier than scheduled, let's see, we have on the 19th. So we played Chelsea the week of the 29th, 30th, right? But on the 19th, we're going to do a little bit of an early preview and talk a little bit about football in general with one of your favorites and one of your nots. Mr. Jason Cundy will be returning to the show an earlier time of 4:30 on Wednesday the 19th. And actually, he has picked Arsenal to win the Premier League title this season and has actually told Jamie O'Hara to come to Jesus and just accept that that's going to happen. But anyway, Mr. Polarizing for some of our listeners. Some will tune in, some will tune out. Sometimes you gain or lose subscribers when certain people are on. But as you know, I will always challenge and bring on guests who we agree or disagree with. And so he will be coming on the 19th of November. We've got Monday Madness coming up as well. I will announce that guest on our community page. And in general, we're going to have some really good stuff coming up. I'll try and get to a consistent schedule again after not being able to broadcast for a little bit. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then when we play in the Champions League, depending on who we play, we'll do a post-game show. And of course, there'll be post-game shows after the North London derby and Chelsea and the big Premier League games as well. He's actually a really nice guy. Damn sec, excuse me. I'm suffering from I've been, I've been getting, anyway, you don't need to know this stuff. It's feeling a bit like maybe rundown is the word. Maybe rundown is the word. He really is. He totally is Gunnar Ross. He just can't stand Arsenal being great, O'Hara, Walcott, I'm working on that. He's actually doing the Stick to Football podcast with our good friend Rebecca. So hopefully we will have, I'm working on, me, I'm cooking behind the scenes. There's some stuff I'm cooking, and hopefully it'll all come to fruition. Slowed down a little bit because, I had other priorities, but I will continue to cook for you and serve you up some major dishes, like a Greek meze, a little bit of something for everyone. They are funny together. I know they're annoying, but you know how it works. This is the thing that I got stuck into as well, was like, now I laugh at these things. Before I would Greek rage and, get all my knickers in a twist. Is that politically correct? Can you still say knickers in a twist? I don't know. Gunnar, Russ, Carol, or Tammy will let me know. And now I just laugh at it because it's like the Miles Lewis-Skelly thing. That's why I wanted to ask Sami about Miles Lewis-Skelly. It's so blatantly obvious what they're trying to do right now with Miles. And the emergence of Nico O'Reilly. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He really is. He's very, very talented. But no way did he have the debut for England like Miles did. Forget about it. I mean, and Miles doesn't play as often now and has come into these Champions League games and been unbelievable. I mean, he is such a special talent. And I don't quite like the narrative. And, you can say what you like about Jude Bellingham. He's a super talented player. Does he believe his own hype? Yeah, but what player doesn't believe their own hype? Has he got a cocky arrogance? Yes. Is it arrogance versus cocky confidence? You be the judge of that. But why is it we're so afraid of character players? It's a joke. Football's become so sanitized in some ways. And it's boring to not have characters. And you need, the Eric Cantonars. I'm not suggesting that anyone goes kung fu fighting into the crowd and stuff, but you need these characters. I think that's why Podolski was so popular at Arsenal. He's a character. He got involved. He was, became close to the fans. Players like that become a cult hero. And I think that's why someone like Podolski was, Declan Rice is a character, but in a different way. He's funny. You see him do these, they say he's the whitest black man on the planet. He's just a character and he enjoys his football. He has fun, with the fact that he plays for Arsenal. So, yeah, I think that Miles Lewis-Skelly is going to have a lot to say about how our season goes, and a lot of our players who may not be featuring week in, week out right now are definitely going to be involved at some point somehow. Let's see. Henri in today's world, I don't even know what the media would do. It's pathetic sometimes, to be honest, Cornbread. Really, it really is. Gunnar Russ says the narrative is to F Arsenal, left, right, and centre. Wow, my voice is going. Who knew? Terence says he loves Podolski. Let's see. Heard you have Saka, Rice, Odegaard, and Eza lined up. Maybe not. I wish. Yeah, they did it to Saka beforehand. Yeah. So we'll see. Let's see. I feel bad about being on record saying that the 14 shirt looks better on Oba. Look, there's players for a season and a reason. Oba, you can't deny that he helped us win that FA Cup. Mikel can't deny that, he was the nucleus that helped us win that FA Cup. And for a time, he was the man. He was a Bama man. And he did a phenomenal job. But we all know how that ended. And for the right reasons. he can say what he wants now, and compliment Mikel. And I think reflectiveness is important. You reflect, and maybe he regrets as captain being late for the North London derby and not doing a warm down. Maybe Mikel regrets not bending a little when supposedly, I don't know, none of us know. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. But Mikel had his non-negotiables. Aubameyang had a family issue another time too. And, in football, sometimes, unfortunately, egos also get in the way. But the bottom line was he wasn't producing at another point. We've seen players get big contracts and they become duds. Aubameyang, Ozil, happened to Rashford at Manchester United, happened to Alexis Sanchez when he went to Manchester United. There's a player who probably regrets every second of every day that he ever left Arsenal, and the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And look at some of the young Highlanders or young players who've left Arsenal. Miles Lewis-Skelly, take note. And, what are they trying to build here? Conflict? Miles Lewis-Skelly's Arsenal through and through. Does he want to play in the World Cup for England? Yes, of course he does. But there's no way that Arsenal are going to let a player like Miles Lewis-Skelly, go to or sell him. And if he does go out on loan, I don't know. But it seems to me this is just a narrative that is brewing to disrupt Arsenal any way they can. They just want to disrupt us. We're a juggernaut right now. We're a machine. People want to look at the Sunderland result and be like, oh, here they go. They're bottling and they're starting to choke. Shut up. No, we're not. That was a good point away from home against an excellent Sunderland side who played with tenacity, physicality. Their goals were great. And unfortunately, we had a mental breakdown at the back and a mistake from Declan Rice. And those players have been so reliable for us all season. They have been the brick wall, the great wall of Arsenal. David Raya was 2 minutes away from being the man of the match, along with Trossard probably. And then there's a mistake, and he and Big Gabby probably won't happen again. I was talking to Maya Yoshida. I interviewed him a couple of times. He plays for LA Galaxy now, Southampton legend, Japan international legend. And on the road to LA Galaxy's championship winning season, he made a horrific mistake in a playoff that before the end of the season that could have cost them. In the US, you have what they call home field advantage. And in the press conference, I asked him a question. He looked at me directly in the eyes. He goes, I can promise you that will never happen again. He made a mistake. They conceded at the death. Didn't cost them a playoff spot, but it could have. It could cost them home field. And at that point, and he never put a foot wrong again. I can assure you that Big Gabby will probably not make a mistake like that again all season, or David Raya. These players, and Yoshida's a great guy as well, by the way, they pride themselves on being the last line of defense, not conceding goals. That probably is eating away at them. In a way, I'm not sure if I wanted to play Tottenham right away to kind of like just take it out on Tottenham. Instead, we've got this international break in between. And you always worry about how players come back from international break. Why Saka played the whole freaking game? What is that? If Saka starts against Albania, I think I may show my Greek rage. It's insane to me. But you don't know. So I think maybe from a competitiveness, it would have been good maybe to go into that North London derby. But from an injury perspective, absolutely not. We needed that. We need to get these players back. We need Gyökeres back. We need Odegaard back. We need Havertz back. We need Martinelli back. We need these players back. And as I said on the show earlier this week, I'm not counting Gabriel Jesus because we can't rely on him. Can't rely on him. And if he comes back and he shines and he's the Jesus who was him before the injury, then great. But, you know, we've got enough depth to do this, kids. We really do. We can do this season. Just stay consistent, stay strong mentally, and use that depth, protect the players, and we can do this. We've got a better squad than Liverpool and Manchester City. Manchester City have a juggernaut. They have Thor. They have Drago. They have Haaland. But, you know, Haaland goes down, they're screwed. And we've got great talent in our side, and we've got good backups. I think Manchester City, the narrative after they thrashed Liverpool was that they're more than just Haaland now. One game and they're more than just Haaland. Because Doku has his best game ever for Manchester City. And, you know, great. He's great. But let's see if he does it consistently. Let's see if he does it over and over and over again all season. That's going to be the key. Consistency. And, you know, for us, we need some of those players back, but we have a good squad. We can do this. We can. It's all going to be about mental for Arsenal, hanging in there at the end. If Manchester City is still like 4 points behind, breathing down our back, that match to come, it's what it's all about. And I agree, Big Caesar, absolutely they should not be playing. There's no need for Saka and Rice to play the next game. What are you going to learn? What new things are you going to learn about Saka and Declan Rice? He took Rice off earlier. But there's no... If I was Mikel, I'd be picking up the phone saying, "Oi, you. So go, get my boy off the pitch." Of course, he doesn't sound like that, but anyway. Right, that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I will let you guys know on the community page what the next shows are. There'll be something on Monday, and then we'll build up to the North London derby. Once Wednesday hits, people, it's all going to be about the North London derby and this. Let's just keep playing it. I know the nerves are building up already now. Big Ben chimes, and as Big Ben chimes, I bid you farewell. My squaddies, thanks so much to those listening on Apple, Spotify, and all audio platforms. Thank you so much for making us part of your day too. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comments section. I'll eventually get my nails done. And until next time, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, my squaddies, at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Chief Like Officer, well said. On the road to 20k. It's free to hit the like button. Don't forget.